I crashed my newly ELRS-converted Mustang into a goalpost. And honestly, number one, it was hilarious because it made this sound. And number two, I'm not that mad because it had warped wonky wings and flew meh anyway. So, it means I get to create and build something else. Speaking of which, motor, Kmart Chuck Glider Flying Wing. Motor, Kmart Chuck Glider Flying Wing. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? The aviation gods all told me this was a terrible idea, but I ignored them anyway, and Frankenstang was conceived and would be born. Step one was to remove the wing and extract all the Mustang's electronics. Step two was to figure out how I was going to mount the motor. And this is where the first problem presented itself. You see, this airframe had originally been designed as a flying wing glider with no motor, intended for slope soaring. And this meant the centre of lift and the CG had been designed around this task. So this was going to be very nose heavy. I decided to wing it and take some measurements. But before chopping off the nose for good, I needed to finish the wings. The aileron control surfaces on the wing were held on with tape, and I didn't like that. So I disconnected the linkage from the control horn, cut the ailerons off, added some nylon hinges and test fit them. Then it was time to Gorilla Glue them all in place. Now I had 2 hours to wait for the Gorilla Glue to partially set. So in the meantime, I started work on the tail. I knew the plane was going to be very nose heavy and I wanted a rudder, so it made sense to mount the rudder servo somewhere back here. And since the Mustang already had a rudder with a control horn attached, it made sense to just mount the rudder to this fin in true Frankenstang fashion. So I trimmed off the top, cut out the servo slot and gave it a test fit, then cut the foam and glued in some more nylon hinges just like I did with the aileron control surfaces on the wings. And lo and behold, my engineering genius. Now, about that motor. I marked where I was going to cut, chopped off the nose, made holes for my poorly designed and world's worst motor mount, then Gorilla Glued it in place. Lo and behold, the majesty of my engineering. But there was still more to do. So I cut out a channel for the motor wires to slip under the canopy. And I also mounted the ESC and the receiver inside using some Velcro and double-sided tape. Then it was time to bring Frankenstang to life with the first test of the electronics. And yes, I know the control surfaces aren't linked to the servos yet. I just got excited and I needed to verify the servos were in the neutral position anyway. I did a quick power check and noticed the motor was spinning the wrong way. Super easy fix. Just swap any two of the motor bullet connectors and it will reverse the motor direction. Next, I glued the control horns into the wing and tried to cut the threaded wire to length. I say tried because I had my doubts these cheap wire strippers could cut steel wire this thick. And after they exploded and broke in half, I realised I should have trusted my intuition. Next, I measured, trimmed and connected the rudder wire linkage to the control horn. Then I glued the rudder servo in and cut out a channel for the servo wire to run along to pop out into the canopy area next to the receiver. And we're almost done with the build, so I've taped over the aileron servo gaps to help with aerodynamics, but we still had one challenge yet to overcome. If the plane is really nose heavy, which it is, then the only place to mount the battery is at the back of the plane. So I marked out where I was going to cut out the foam, then forgot to record any more footage because I was in a rush and got carried away. Then, as if by the magic of editing, the plane was at the flying field awaiting its judgment from the aviation gods.
I don't think that's thrust line level. Okay.
We'll just see what happens.
Just fly it. Right, we're ready.
All right, Frankenstang.
Whoa! That was quick.
As you can hear from the video, I was deeply upset. So, we learned 3 things from this video. Number 1, the aviation gods should be listened to. Number 2, you shouldn't radically change an aircraft design midway through the build. And number 3, flying wings probably shouldn't be your first aircraft build.